You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Good God, y'all. Absolutely. Let's get started again.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? America Off the Rails has been declared a conservatives-only safe zone. Only conservatives allowed from this point forward. Any liberal, socialist, butthurt, hippie, tree huggers, please exit the facility immediately. Again, attention please. America Off the Rails is now designated as a conservative safe zone only. All butthurt, tree hugging, hippie, free to be you and me types exit the facility immediately. Thank you.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Come expect us to make a mistake. We're paying off election.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
Well, good evening, folks. This is Rick Robinson. I'm the host of America Off the Rails. It is Friday, February the 5th, 2016, and we have a brand new segment we're going to be introducing later in the show, brought to you by Barbed Wire Satire, one Mr. Eric Williams over there, who is a comedic genius, who has helped me put together a spot. Now, a lot of it was his, some of it's me, so the parts that suck, trust me, those are mine. The parts that are good, he did those. I'm just kidding. This will be one of my first attempts at doing something at least somewhat comedic during a live broadcast, so we'll have to see how it goes over. If you like it, great. If not, we're going to keep working at it until we get it right. But anyway, so lots of things to talk about today. You know, New Hampshire is about to get underway. All the candidates are there, well, except for Trump, who apparently decided that he needed to go, I believe it was Arkansas, oddly enough. And Carson, I think, visited a prayer breakfast instead. But, you know, Carson has been giving lots of folks some flack, you know, and I don't know. I mean, I've talked about this before, but I'm going to bring this up again. You know, the people that deserve the flack for the whole Carson debacle, first of all, Carson's camp, because how the heck else would CNN have even figured out that he was going to be leaving? Second of all, CNN for not vetting it before they started making all kinds of weird comments on the news about how it was odd that a presidential candidate would be leaving and yada, yada, yada. But speaking of weird things, you know, there's always a method to my madness. If you've listened to the show for a while, you'll learn to follow. You've learned to follow along. If you're a new listener right now, you're probably confused because we took a really jog left when we should have turned right as far as you were concerned. But I promise it'll make sense in a moment. Really weird things that have been going on. Okay, so, you know, there's been this now what I termed on social media yesterday as the Trumper tantrum being upgraded to a 3-day bender. It's still a rip-roaring good time, folks. They are all over social media, still having a cow. I got blocked by a guy just because I tried to point out how crazy an article that I just saw on social media was. And it was only took one tweet and I was blocked because these people are just completely incensed over the Trumpinator. But, you know, back to the weirdness, because here's the thing. Before anybody knew what happened, Donald Trump is all throwing a fit. But don't forget, this is after he congratulated Ted Cruz on a hard-fought victory and said he wasn't going to give up until they won the rest of the primaries, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, a few hours later, Ted stole it from me, we should get a redo. And it's been that way ever since. But it gets even weirder, folks, because they started looking at the numbers out of Iowa. 25% of the folks that had said they were going to vote for Trump, they stayed home. Now, you're telling me that now that those type of numbers that are coming out, because remember, he's only, got 26%? So a quarter of those people, that for the numbers that he was pulling from, stayed home. So only 75% of the 26% that are pulling for Trump even showed up in Iowa. And yet everybody that is a fan of Trump and a supporter of Trump is convinced that he's going to be the guy that's going to be able to run the table. And I just don't understand it. Because it makes absolutely no sense to me. The guy is not presidential. We are doing the same thing on our side that we have been complaining that the other side did for the last 8 years. And nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody's catching on to it. And I'm sick of it. I mean, there are people that I used to like and respect and look up to that are so far up Trump's rear end, they're smelling what he had for breakfast yesterday, and it's terrible. That image was just as terrible, but so is the fact that they've swallowed everything that this guy supposedly stands for, hook, line, and sinker, but nobody knows what it is. Now, in an attempt to bring about the softer, gentler side of Trump, due to severe weather, they're actually going to be encouraging folks in New Hampshire to stay home. Now, a friend of mine, you may know him, the conservative curmudgeon, hosts here every Wednesday night on K98 Talk. He brought up an interesting point in social media in a little group that we're in, and I told him if he didn't tweet it, I was going to. Because it was an excellent point. Because Trump held events in Iowa with the same type of weather that they're complaining about in New Hampshire now. So is it, Iowans are better at getting out in the weather? You know, because Lord knows New Hampshire, the folks in New Hampshire, they're not used to snow. I mean, come on. Or is it that the folks in Iowa meant less to Trump than the folks in New Hampshire? I'm kind of poking a little fun here and giving G a little credit for coming up with it. But it is an odd thing to think about, isn't it? That in Iowa, he didn't worry about anybody's personal safety, but now all of a sudden in New Hampshire he is. And everybody still completely and totally going after Cruz. Even Rubio has been quietly and sneakily going after Cruz, even though his camp did the same thing that he's complaining that Cruz did in Iowa. Then, of course, you have the recent Dim Town Hall and the Dim Debate. The night of the Dim Town Hall, I basically just told everybody they might as well just have them flip a coin and go home because nobody cares. And then during the Dim Debate, one of the weirdest things I think I've ever heard was Hillary Clinton complaining to Bernie Sanders about a smear campaign. We'll actually get to that a little bit later in the new segment that we're going to be introducing, but I had to kind of bring that up now because isn't it just a little weird that the Queen of Smear... I know you're listening, Eric. See what I did there? The Queen of Smear is suddenly complaining because someone else is smearing her. It's kind of an interesting take. But I have a question for you, folks. Who are you going to vote for? You've listened to me. You've heard me tell you what I think on more than one occasion. You have to be the ones to make the decision. You have to be the ones to decide who it is that you are going to pull the lever for. Nobody can do it but you. So I ask you, not because I expect you to answer me now, but because I want you to think, who is it that so far you feel that you can support? If it's Trump, so be it. I'm not judging you. As long as you're not openly attacking me for telling you what I think, I will never judge you for making your own decisions. What I will do is ask you to make sure that you've thought them through. Because I've laid out case in point over and over and over again about who Donald Trump is and the fact that nobody really knows what he stands for. I mean, let's not forget, this is the guy who up until a few short months ago had Democrat and Republican alike in his pocket. While folks like Cruz and Rubio and even Rand Paul were fighting the good fight, he was on the side of Pelosi and Reid because he was supporting them financially. And yet now he wants us to think that he's had some sort of reformation, that he's had a come-to-Jesus moment. This isn't about saving the country for him, folks. He's working an angle. He always works an angle. And if you think, and I've said it before, I'm going to say it again, then we'll move on, but if you think that a guy who made most of his money by working the system that he's now complaining about and using the legal system that he's now complaining about, i.e. the bankruptcy code, and the tax system that he's complaining about, is how he's made a lot of his money, and yet now you honestly think he's wanting to fix it all. His friends would run him out on a rail because that's how a lot of them have figured out ways to make their money. And I'm not going to lie, folks. I've made good money. I know how to work the system. It only makes sense when you get past a certain point that you do what you can to keep your money, because if not, the government's going to try to take as much of it from you as they can. But the simple fact of the matter is, if we were really to level the playing field and do some of the things that a lot of the candidates are saying that we need to do, like a fair tax or a consumption-based tax, the rich people would be up in arms. And I'm not saying that against them. They might have a right to be because they're already paying the lion's share of the taxes. But the thing about it is, and the thing that nobody takes into account, even in my town, everybody talks about sales tax and how it makes revenue. You know, we should do away with state income tax and federal income tax. There should be flat state taxes, and there should be flat federal taxes. And when you go to a register, you pay a tax that goes to the city, the state, and the government. Because it would make so much more sense because it regulates all the panhandling, all the things that nobody says can be regulated. All of the things where people are working for money under the table that can't be tracked, can't be traced, can't be regulated. Do you realize how much more revenue we could bring in for the government to be able to do some of the things that I will admit they need to do? See, here's the thing. When you talk about a conservative is pretty easy. It's difficult for those who have never thought about it, I guess, because I have this talk with everybody a lot. But conservatism is pretty easy. We want basic freedoms. We don't want freedoms to be granted by our government. We want everyone to acknowledge that they're actually endowed by someone or something else. For most conservatives, it's a creator. I do know some atheistic conservatives and some agnostic conservatives, but most conservatives have a faith-based system that helps keep them in line, so to speak. So most of us realize that our rights are given by our creator, not granted by our government. What we also understand is that government is a necessary evil. Unlike most libertarians that are anarchists, well, I guess I said that wrong. Unlike libertarians who think that there should be as little government as possible, all the way to the point where there are a lot of libertarians that are anarchists who think there should be almost no government at all, except for at the local levels. We understand that government is a necessary evil, but since it is a necessary evil, it should be limited in its scope and power. The Founding Fathers had it right when they did it the first time. There was no federal government when the Constitution was created. There was a general government, and it had basically two jobs: regulating commerce between states and common defense. That was it. There was none of this crap we have going on now today. And if we would get away from most of the crap we have going on now today, think about all the things that could be done with all of the money that gets wasted every single day, and how much better things could be if not for the money that is being wasted every single day. There are more and more stories coming out every single day about congressmen that are wasting money and senators that are wasting money and allowing money to be wasted on frivolous programs and stupid scientific studies that aren't even relevant, and we're going broke. So let me tell you who I will vote for, if given the opportunity. I will vote for the candidate who stands up and tells me that they still believe in the Constitution. That not only tells me with their words that they still believe in the Constitution, but with their actions. Because they can all talk about the Constitution, but very few of them manage to bother to follow it. Let me tell you who I will vote for. Someone who will stand up and tell me that they're going to go through the budget with a fine-tooth comb, that they're going to figure out where we're wasting money and figure out how to deal with the waste of the money so that we don't have to continue to raise taxes to make things make sense, to keep pouring more money into wasted programs just so we have more money to put elsewhere. It doesn't make sense to continue to put the burden on the back of we the people to fund this monstrosity that they like to call government. It doesn't. And yet here we sit day in and day out. Have you ever really stopped to think how much of your workday goes to pay the federal government and the state government and your local government and your sales taxes? Because if you think about it for a second, I don't know where you live, but I'm going to tell you where I used to live, because honestly, I haven't paid that much attention since we've moved. But where we used to live, there's an 8-cent sales tax. That means that 8 cents out of every dollar that I spend, every time I spend money, goes to the government, goes to the city government of the town that I'm shopping in. And it's pretty average around here. It's usually anywhere from 7.5 to 9 cents. So that's pretty much where it goes. So 9 cents on the dollar. So basically a 9% tax on every dollar that you spend. So then you've got your income tax, which if you're where I'm at, it's probably about 18 to 20% right off the top before you ever even get the money. So they've already hit you, so you're already down 80%. They just took basically 9% of every dollar you spend anytime you spend anything. So that's 89%. So that's what, 71% of basically what you get. I mean, that's my whole point. And I'm middle class. Don't get me wrong. I'm probably lower middle class. I'm working on getting back towards middle class, maybe upper middle class. I'd prefer to get to at least lower upper class. Again, I've been there once before. I'm hoping I can find my way back again. But that's my whole point. If you really stop, it's like the argument I keep making for healthcare and all the other stuff that we just basically go, oh, it's not a big deal. The insurance will cover it. If you actually really stop to look at what it is that the government and your city government and your state government is removing from everything that you buy, from everything that you make, because they take a portion or they add money on the top that you have to pay for, you would realize that they need to be better stewards with their money. My state is a prime example. My state is a mess. My state has already had one major budget shortfall. If you remember, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I was born in Oklahoma. I didn't always live here, though. My family, well, my mom moved away in the 80s, right around the same time as the original oil boom busted back in the 80s, when Oklahoma's economy went boom and went from boom to bust. And everybody said, oh, that's all right, because once we get through this, we're going to make sure that we diversify the economy enough that this will never impact us again, at least not the way that it has now. And yet now here we sit in 2016, and I talk to people every day that have lost their jobs due to the oil industry. And let me say something to you fat cat oil barons. I know more about your system than most, so I'm not going to be one of the ones that sits here and tells you that you're making these exorbitant amount of monies, because I understand that when it comes to oil production and gasoline and all of the above, you really don't see that much. You make your money off of volume, and I do understand that. Most people don't. So please don't think that I'm trying to insult you. But I want you to understand what makes no sense to me. You, as the people that have held the seat of power in this state for the last 100 years, have not had enough foresight to start finding ways, when it blew up the first time, to get involved in other industries and energy sources to make sure that when it happened again, it didn't cripple the entire state. I mean, don't get me wrong, folks. I don't know where you are, but I'm driving around seeing gas prices of $1.29 to $1.34 for ethanol per gallon. I haven't seen those type of prices in 20 years. If it drops just a little bit more, it'll be back to the prices I was paying in high school. The problem is, folks, the dollar doesn't support it now, though. Because when the prices were that way when I was in high school, we had strong money. Our money's not worth crap anymore. And let me give a little shout out to all you businesses who have now had the benefit of the low gas prices now for several months, and you haven't done anything to adjust your pricing. Thank you. Those of us on the low end of the pay scales, we appreciate the fact that you're now making record profits based on the fact that you can save on gas, and we're still getting raked over the coals on the overall pricing. Thank you. Thank you very much. Which reminds me, I've got a bit I'm going to research and probably talk about on Monday, but I just read a story when I was prepping this evening that honestly made me very, very angry, and I'm hoping I'm wrong. So I'm not going to talk about very much of it right now. You may be able to find it if you're interested, and maybe if anybody checks it out, you can always email me before Monday and tell me what you think about it. But I just read a story that apparently Papa John's was stealing some money from its employees. If this happens to be true, I will never eat there again. However, I will reserve judgment until such time as I know whether or not it was true, because at this point I am not entirely sure. So, now, without further ado, I think it may be about time for us to go ahead and see about running that new segment, because I know Mr. Eric Williams has been waiting with bated breath because he's been helping me with this all week. And he told me that he wanted to see what I was going to do with it. So give me just 1 second here while I get prepped with what we got to do. It gives us just about enough time to run or to go through these. And then take a quick break. So bear with me for just 1 second while I get everything prepped up. And then we've still got a little bit of show left, so we'll hang out and continue talking.
You've got mail.
Dear Rick, please allow me to introduce myself. I've been a fan of your show for quite some time, and I know once I tell you who I am, you're going to find it really hard to believe. But I have something to ask you. I need your help. You wouldn't believe who or what I am, but I'm about to tell you anyway. I'm writing you today because I need you to understand that what I'm being told that I have done is not anything that I've done intentionally, and the news keeps talking very, very badly about me, Rick, and I need you to understand. And right now you're probably really confused, so let me go ahead and tell you who I am. I am Hillary Clinton's server. That's right. I am the thing that everyone talks so badly about in the news and says that I've been used poorly and that I've been doing things that I shouldn't do and somehow it's all my fault. But you have to understand, Rick, I work for the Clintons. I am literally a part of the Clinton machine. No pun intended. Do you understand how hard it is to be a part of that family, Rick? Do you understand the things they've made me do? The things they've made me store? Hey, there's an idea. Maybe while I'm writing you, what I'll do, because everybody talks about these emails, Rick. They talk about these emails, and I don't know. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tell you. That's what I'll do. I'll show you. So here's some examples of the things that they've made me keep secret, Rick, and I'm tired of keeping secrets. They tell me that I'm doing the right thing, but I'm tired of them being secret, Rick. So here's one of them. And I'm just going to go ahead and give them to you now, Rick. From HDR@ClintonMail.com to Uma Abedin. Subject, that's how you do it! ! Hey, girlfriend. Phew. I'm so glad to be done with Iowa. Even if I win the election, I'm never going back to that hellhole again. Be sure to slip some extra foundation cast to Roddy Mook and Brian Fallon. They were such a big help in teaching Bernie how to steal an election. LOL, LOL, LOL. The people of Iowa better hope I don't nuke the whole state for embarrassing me like that with such a close contest. Was really hoping we wouldn't have to cheat with coin tosses, etc. until later in the campaign. By the way, that was a brilliant idea you had, having Debbie Wasserman Schultz handling all the coin flips. Ha! When are these people going to learn it's always heads? Hillary wins. Tails. Hillary wins. That's just the way it is. On to New Hampshire, Hillary. And that's not the worst one. There's more. From HDR@ClintonMail.com to Roddy Mook. Subject, using Bill. I'm seeing press reports with people saying that Bill looks skinny, gaunt, and sickly at rallies. Guess I haven't noticed much because I never look at him. Also, they say his voice sounds weak. I never talked to him, so I wouldn't know about that either. Can you research illnesses that fit the description? Get back to me on this, and we'll get together with the others to see which illness might get us the most sympathy votes. This could really work for us. Thanks, Hill. I know. I mean, doesn't that just sound completely terrible? I mean, come on, Rick. These are the people that I deal with every day. And you guys wonder, I mean, you think she's bad on the news. Just wait, there's more. I've got one more for you, Rick, but we've got to make it quick. These are only some of the secrets I have locked away in my core. Maybe I'll be able to write you again, but here's the last one for now. From HDR@ClintonMail.com to Rachel Maddow. Subject, debate last night. Hi, Rachel. I just wanted to drop you a quick thank you for the softballs you tossed me last night. We vaginas have to stick together, right? Ha, ha, ha. Could you believe Bernie, though? acting all outraged when I told him in no uncertain terms to stop his smear campaign against me. I am the queen of smear, and I do it better than anybody. Just ask Paula Jones. Anyway, I think we both did a great job, and the hug after the debate was a very, very nice surprise. Most of the few viewers watching last night are too stupid to pick up on you blatantly being in the tank for me anyway. By the way, you smelled fantastic. Keep up the biased work. Yours, Hill. Alright, Rick, I really do have to go. I'll try to write you again soon. And there you have it, folks. Our first installment from our very own Deep Throat, the server of Hillary Clinton. Alright, folks, so there you have it. The first installment, and what may actually be the last installment, of A Day in the Life of the Server of Hillary Clinton. It is actually... Whoa, hang on a second. Something's leveling off weirdly here. Okay, so there we go. Okay. All right, so there we have it, folks. A Day in the Life of Hillary Clinton. A Day in the Life of the Server of Hillary Clinton. Wow, one thing goes crazy and I forget how to talk. That is what I hope to be a recurring segment here on America Off the Rails, and it is brought to you by Eric Williams of BarbedWireSatire.com. Now, the Fallon-style ad-lib approach around the emails, that was all me. So if you didn't like that part, don't blame him. The emails were his, and I actually realized about halfway through the reading that I left one out. So the good news is, if he sends me more, we'll just include it in the ones for next week. Now, if you happen to be catching this on a podcast as it airs on iHeart and a few other places later, you are welcome to check it out live. As long as he continues to send me content, we'll make it a regular Friday night staple around here. Speaking of which, as it evolves, if anybody out there knows how to do a decent Hillary Clinton and wants some airtime, just let me know. It might be a little more interesting to hear them actually read in a voice that impersonates hers. But at this point, folks, we have got to take a break. We are way past bottom of the hour at this point. So we will be right back here in just a couple minutes after these commercial messages. Alright, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program America Off the Rails. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
All right, guys, we're ready for our Four Seasons sunroom, and Daddy's gonna get a rec room with refreshments.
Oh no, we'll be sleeping under the stars.
Mom, what about the one with, the fun?
Nice try, little bro. It's a gym. My gym.
Hey, Grandma's getting her Four Seasons garden room. Weather tight and still like being outdoors.
Maybe a living room. Oh no, wait, a family hub.
Yeah! No matter what the budget, the season, or the climate, Four Seasons sunrooms let you and your family enjoy the outdoors inside. Call now to receive your free, no-obligation brochure from the premier manufacturer of sunrooms since 1975.
More reasons for Four Seasons now.
To find out more, call toll-free 800-928-7007. That's 800-928-7007. Call 800-928-7007 today.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
All right, folks, before we get back to the show, I just want to take a second to give a shout-out to a couple of sponsors. One of them is the one that's been with us the longest. It is concealandcarry.net. It's a pretty easy website to use. You put the word conceal, the letter N, the word carry, and then .net in your browser. It'll take you to a page where you can click on a map of the United States of America. On that map, you can click the state you live in. It will give you instant access to stores around you that sell both ammunition, weaponry, and also areas where you can get training for said weapons and ammunition so that you can freely exercise your Second Amendment rights. I do strongly recommend that you give them a visit today if you haven't yet. And our newest sponsor, I want to give them a shout out as well, politibrick.org. It's a pretty interesting group. They've kind of got a novel concept. If you spend as much time delving into the realms of politics as I do, there comes at least one time a day when you start considering possibly throwing something at your television. They give you the ability to not have to resist the urge. Should you be unable to control it, they will actually give you an item shaped, it looks a lot like a brick, but it's made out of foam. And it has the candidate of either your choosing or your displeasure, whichever way you decide to lean with your bricks, and you can basically do with it as you see fit. They have a really cool special right now. You can get all 6 of the bricks for $5. Now, bear in mind, this is a limited time offer while supplies last. If you are listening to this show on a podcast, you may want to double check their website and make sure the offer is still available. If you see it, I do encourage you to snatch it up today because, like I said, you can get all 6 of the bricks they offer as of right now for all 6 for $5. And like I said, it's a great little novelty idea. Maybe you've got an idea of who you want to talk to your friends about maybe voting for. Maybe get one of the bricks for the folks that you are considering voting for and use it as a conversation starter. Who knows? Just remember, whoever you're going to vote for, don't pick Trump. No, I'm just playing. All right, so I guess at this point we probably really should get back to the show. So without further ado, here we go.
For our own cause, we got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, lest you pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets cause it's no longer free. You cannot make a move now that the NSA can see. Don't expect equality, respect, and fair play. The IRS will target those who vote the wrong way.
All right, so we are back. We are live. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. Again, want to give a big shout out and thank you to Mr. Eric Williams, barbedwiresatire.com. He is the mastermind behind those emails that you just read. Again, just in case you didn't like the Fallon-like approach to how I handled the emails, just remember, that was all me. That wasn't anything to do with him. So if you like what he did there, make sure you find him through social media or on his website or however you can. Contact him and let him know what a great job you think he's doing. He's now a friend of the Spark Radio Network as well as K98Talk.com and a regular contributor now for both America Off the Rails as well as Game On with JD and Stacy, their Bloody Marys and Broadsheets edition on Sunday. Now, speaking of Sundays, there was a group that was supposed to be having a meeting, and I think it was actually this coming Sunday, if I remember correctly. I may be misquoting that part of it, but I'm going to talk about that group for a little bit because I don't know if maybe you've heard of this particular group, but we're going to talk about them for a second anyway. It's a group called Return of Kings. And it's a scary group. Let's just call it what it is. It's a scary group. It's a group that basically wants things to be returned. Well, I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's basically a westernized version of Sharia law. They want women to have basically no rights at all. Men should be able to do whatever they want, whenever they want to do it, including committing rape as long as it occurs on private property, because legally there should be no jurisdiction to enforce rape laws if it occurs on private property. Now, can I just say, I'm just going to say it, in between the racist Trump humpers out there that are going completely insane over this guy, and now we've got a group that I never heard of, didn't even know existed until they were planning on having a meeting in what used to be my hometown. What is happening? What is happening to America? I don't understand it anymore. There is a group, a pro-rape group, that was going to have a meeting in the reddest state in the country. What does that tell you? I will tell you what it tells me. It means that we as a nation are losing our way. We have become an instant gratification society. We have become a gotta have it how I want it, gotta have it right now society. And it shows in every aspect of our society. From the fact that now we have a major jump in neo-Nazism, white power, black power, Black Panthers, which is basically the African-American version of the Nazi Party. I mean, look, folks, the simple fact of the matter is, and I've been called out for this before, but I'm going to say it, and it's the truth. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. Everybody can be a racist. Doesn't mean everybody has to be, but everyone has the ability to be a racist. I don't care if you're white, brown, yellow, red, or pink with polka dots. You have the ability, should you give into it, to be a racist. And before anybody starts in, Islam is not a race. Islam is a political system masquerading as a religious group. And I'm sorry. I disagree with them as much as I agree with this Return of Kings group, because it's the same general concept. Women have absolutely no power, no authority, and no rights, and they're the property of men. That's not how this is supposed to go. It's really not. And the fact that they were going to be having a meeting here in Oklahoma. Now, bear in mind, that's not the only crazy thing that's going on. because around the same time as that meeting, there was actually supposed to be a meeting of a satanic group, I believe, around the same time. In my state. So again, I ask you, what has happened to my state? Our government's collapsing in on itself under its own weight. We're allowing groups that want to cause harm to others, or even giving the illusion that they may be eligible to hold meetings. Now, granted, the meeting didn't occur because as soon as the story broke, the group basically withdrew from the area and said that they weren't going to hold the meeting anymore. But I've got news for you. If you're one of these Islamo-fascists, or you're one of these guys that thinks that things should be like they were in 7th century England or 7th century Mesopotamia, for that matter, I just got one thing to say to you.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
It really is pretty much that simple. That's not how things are supposed to be. And if you think, I'm not done with you racist folks either, because I'm getting attacked by you guys all the time. I got a question for you guys. Why is it that I'm no longer allowed to have an opinion just because my opinion is different than yours? And I know what you're about to say because of who I was just talking about, but let's face it, that's not just an opinion. They're allowing their opinions to shape their actions, and they're saying that women should be treated as objects. That's not an opinion. Because they're wanting to act on those opinions. That's when it starts to be a problem. Opinions are one thing. When you start acting on them, that's something completely different. And that's what we're finding all over social media today. We have all of these white power folks that are all over Donald Trump's TL talking about how they're going to make America white again. And I've talked about it, and I've talked about it, and I've talked about it, but I just feel like nobody's listening. And it terrifies me. Because the simple fact of the matter is, as it stands right now, we are about to lose everything if we don't wake up. Now, as I said in the beginning of the show, I'm not telling you who you need to vote for. I'm not even telling you that you shouldn't vote for Trump. That's not my job. My job is to tell you what I think well enough and articulate enough that hopefully it makes you think, so that you can form your own opinions and draw your own conclusions. But I will tell you, if you are finding yourself aligning at all with these white supremacist or these Return of Kings groups, then you really probably should stop listening to the show, because you're not going to like me. Because look, I don't just call it out on the left. If our side screws up, I'm going to call it. If our side screws up, hell, I'm probably going to call it worse than I call it for the left, because we expect them to be stupid. I don't expect this from my side of the argument, my side of the aisle. We're supposed to be better than this. We're supposed to be better than putting up a guy who up until 5 seconds ago was a Democrat, who up until 5 seconds ago had politicians of every stripe in his pocket. And we want to make him president. Now again, I haven't made my choice yet. I've let you hear me talk about it as organically as possible because I haven't made up my mind yet. I do know who I cannot support, and I've explained to you as to why, so I'm not going to go into it again because we're coming to the end of the show. But I'm going to tell you that I can't support Trump. If you want to know why, then go back and listen to the archives, because I lay it out multiple times as to why I can't. I'm not going to talk about it today. But that doesn't mean that I know who I am going to support yet. Now, in case you're listening for the first time and you haven't heard some of the evolution of my thought process on this election cycle, I do encourage you to go back and listen to the podcasts so that you can hear the way that things have changed. You'll notice a marked change when it comes to Chris Christie over about the last 14 months, because I held him in about the same esteem that I hold Jeb Bush, which was not a chance in hell. Now, I have to tell you that has changed for me a little bit, but only a little bit. And it's mainly based on his performances in the debates. Because, I mean, granted, He's a former prosecutor, so it's not like he doesn't know how to work a room. But he did a much better job than anybody else at engaging the audience around him and making sure that he was talking to them, not yelling at them. And that impresses me when folks take the time to do that. So Christie's come up a few points in my opinion. Still don't know for sure if he's going to get my vote, but he's come up quite a bit in my opinion. Now, just in case you hadn't heard the news yet, we're going to go ahead and put the general manager's hat back on for just a little bit for the last few minutes of the show. We have recently signed a really big, really awesome thing here at K98 Talk. We have now signed Michael Loftus. The creator of The Flip Side with Michael Loftus is now doing a podcast once a week that will now be heard on K98 Talk every Tuesday night. And it's going to be heard at 10 Eastern, 9 Central. And then what we hope to do is put on an abbreviated version of the Gavin Mitchell Show right behind it, because it will only be a half an hour show, but that will still fill up our hour blocks, which is typically what we try to hold folks to, is at least an hour's worth of programming. But who am I to tell Michael Loftus that he has to do an hour? I mean, come on. It's Michael Loftus. Speaking of which, if you haven't heard it yet, I do also encourage you to go back into the Spreaker archives and check out hashtag JD and Stacey. They had Michael Loftus on for the whole hour last night, and it was a laugh riot. I have to tell you, I haven't laughed that hard in quite some time. It was interesting because, you'll notice a marked progression when you start dealing with folks that do both TV and radio, because it's like they relax just a little bit more when it's radio, especially when it's our type of radio, because there's not a million different regulations and there's not a million different rules. I mean, we try to hold to as much decorum as we can, but I'm also not one of those folks that's going to make every single host adhere to every single FCC regulation, because only some of my shows are regulated by FCC. So I'm not going to make every single host follow the same rules. So it was interesting last night because for about the first 10 minutes in, Loftus was in TV mode. And then JD really started letting loose, and by about halfway through the show, you could just feel Michael that he's taking a breath. And I think it's one of the things that he talked about that he likes so much about the podcast, is it's so much more of a different feel than the TV show. So they are a new addition here. I do encourage you to check them out. We're supposed to be dropping the first one next week. It is available on iTunes, so if you don't want to wait for them to play here, you are welcome to check them out there. I do know that his first show is already up over there, and he got a 5-star rating. And as he said, it wasn't his mother. So that being said, that's one of the newest additions over here. And of course, right before that, we added the Gavin Mitchell Show. If you haven't heard his show yet, I do encourage you to go back and check it out as well. Now, Gavin was with me on Monday for the entirety of the show, so I do encourage you to go back and listen to that if you didn't hear it on one of the other affiliates, because that show has been getting passed around a lot. So what I typically try to do with the newer hosts is bring them on, give everybody a chance to get to know them, and make sure that they make the rounds. Who knows? Some of the other affiliates that I run on might be interested in carrying their shows as well. All right, so I think I've talked about that type of stuff enough. Now, one last thing I want to do, and I don't typically do this, but I just feel it's kind of important to do this. For those of you who don't know, I have a partner in K98 Talk. He's actually the main owner. He runs K98 FM and Hot101FM.net. K98 Talk was my brainchild. When he came up with the idea of purchasing K98 FM, he decided to give me the reins at K98 Talk, and we basically incorporated my network here ever since. Now, as we've continued to grow, expand, and change, we have started pushing the network again, but K98 Talk will always be our internet-based home and our internet-based flagship station. Now, we do... some of us have a terrestrial flagship station now, which is WNJC 1360 AM out of Philadelphia. But I have had a partner from the beginning here at K98 Talk, and he is in my thoughts tonight. I'm not going to give you too much detail, but suffice it to say he's having a pretty rough time. He has a family member who is ill. I'm not going to give you any specifics. If you know him, then you know what I'm talking about. All I ask is that even if you don't know him, take a moment tonight and say a prayer for that family member, because even though I'm not sharing with you the information, God still knows the need. So I do ask that if you can, just take a moment and say a prayer. And JT, brother, I know you're out there, and you just hold on tight, brother, and stay strong. All right. Well, this one will be a little bit shorter than usual because I can feel my voice failing on me as we speak. It's been a really long week at the day job. So at this point, it is about time for us to go ahead and get out of here. Now, I do want to remind you folks, tomorrow, which is Saturday, we will not be doing live broadcasts for Finding Common Ground or Opinion Nation. Mr. Bryce Robbins had a prior engagement, so I'll be taking the morning off. I will at some point, however, though, start getting things prepped for the Red State Show on Sunday. So make sure you guys are tuning in over there and checking that out. And in case you missed it and you're catching us on the tail end, make sure to go back and listen to the middle, or the beginning of the show, of course, but about through the middle, that is where you'll find the new segment. Now, at this point, it is about time for me to go ahead and get on up out of here because, like I said, in another few seconds, I'm not going to be able to talk because his voice is getting a lot worse. All right, folks, that is going to do it for this particular episode of America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. Until I see you, put down the remote, get off the couch, find a way to get involved. It doesn't matter if you disagree with 99% of what I say, as long as you're fighting to make a difference.
By breaking your backs, we're gonna redistribute when we make our pay tax. Hey, sit down.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method, and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry, or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.